Start with a shock of truth. The moment you chase her, you lose her. Not because she's cruel, not because she's heartless, but because the second she feels you're chasing her approval, she stops feeling your strength. Chasing tells her something deep. I need you to feel okay. I need you to feel valuable. I need you more than I need to respect myself. And when a man does that, something inside her pulls back. She might not even understand why, but she feels it. The more you try to win her with effort, with attention, with over-explaining, the more she feels like you're giving up something important, your power. And when a man gives away his power, he gives away attraction. You might think, but I'm showing her I care. But if care turns into neediness, she doesn't feel cared for. She feels pressure. Pressure to text back, pressure to reassure you, pressure to carry your emotions. And women aren't built to carry that. They don't want to be your emotional home. They want to join your emotional strength. That's why Stoic men never chase. Because they've already chosen themselves. They've chosen peace over panic, direction over distraction, self-worth over outside validation. A Stoic man doesn't lose sleep over unanswered texts. He doesn't break down over a cold shoulder. He doesn't spin his whole day around her silence. Because he knows power doesn't come from control. It comes from being unshaken when things don't go your way. He chooses his path. He focuses on his purpose. He builds his discipline. And that stillness, that calm presence, that's what draws her in. Because while every other man is chasing her, the Stoic one is chasing nothing and becoming everything. She might not say it, but she feels it. That's the man she can't stop thinking about. The one who walked away, not in anger, but in power. The one who didn't beg, didn't flinch, didn't fold. The one who stayed true to himself, no matter how she behaved. And that is unforgettable. Stop needing her. She doesn't want a man who needs her more than he respects himself. She doesn't want to be your reason for waking up or the center of your peace. Because deep down, no woman wants to feel like your emotional oxygen. When you make her your purpose, when every move you make is just to get her attention, when you wait for her replies like they control your heartbeat, you may think it's love, but to her, it feels like pressure. It feels like you're leaning on her instead of standing on your own. And the more you lean, the more she pulls away. When you explain yourself again and again, when you try to fix every little thing just to keep her close, when you ask what you did wrong even when you did nothing, you're not showing her strength. You're showing her fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being alone. But women aren't drawn to fear. They're drawn to presence, to power, to quiet confidence. So every time you put her above your own peace, every time you change your mood based on hers, every time you bend your values just to keep her around, you lose a part of yourself. And she loses respect for you. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because she can't trust a man who's not even sure of who he is. Because if your emotions rise and fall with hers, she doesn't feel protected. She feels burdened. She doesn't want to feel like she's holding you together. She wants to feel like she can lean on you when her world falls apart. She wants to feel your steadiness, not your dependence. Real strength is quiet. It's patient. It's rooted. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't beg for validation. It doesn't fall apart when someone goes cold. You might think she wants more affection, more attention, more effort. But what she truly wants is to feel your power without you needing her approval to show it. The moment she senses that you need her to feel like a man, something in her shifts. She starts pulling back, slowly, quietly, sometimes without even realizing it. Why? Because no woman can love a man she doesn't admire, and she can't admire a man who treats her like his lifeline. Respect comes first, and respect is born from strength, from discipline, from self-respect. That's why Stoic men don't chase, they don't cling, they don't beg someone to stay. If she walks, they let her. Not out of spite, but because they know. A woman who truly wants you won't need to be chased. She'll move closer when she feels you're calm, when she sees you're not shaken by distance or silence, when she sees you can stand on your own. That's what draws her in. Because there's a difference between choosing a woman and needing her. Need comes from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. But choice comes from strength, from a place of abundance. And when you live from choice, everything about you changes. Your words are slower, your energy is clearer, your presence becomes magnetic, because now you're not trying to win her. You're simply becoming the kind of man she naturally respects, the kind of man who doesn't lose himself to get love, the kind of man who knows, if she leaves, he still wins, because he never gave away his power to begin with. So stop needing her. Stop reaching for someone who makes you reach further than you should. Stand tall in who you are, in your peace, in your focus, in your discipline. Because the moment you stop needing a woman to complete you is the moment you become the kind of man no woman ever wants to leave. Control your emotions. Control the game. A woman watches everything, not just your words, but how you move when things get hard. When she pulls back, she sees how you respond. When she gives you silence, she listens for your reaction. When she acts cold or distant, she feels whether you stay grounded or fall apart. These moments are not just emotional, they're defining. Because how you respond under pressure reveals everything about your maturity, your control, and your inner strength. She's not testing you because she's playing games. She's testing you because life will test you. And she wants to know, can you hold the weight? Can you lead through confusion? Can you be the calm when everything around her turns to chaos? Because if you crumble when she's upset, if you argue back when she's emotional, if you raise your voice, blow up her phone, or lose sleep over a missed reply, then she learns something very important. You don't have control over yourself. And if you can't control yourself, you can't lead her. You can't protect her. You can't create safety. Women don't feel safe with a man who needs her to be emotionally stable just so he can stay calm. They feel safe with a man who is emotionally stable no matter what she's feeling. That's why Stoic men move differently. They don't react out of impulse. They don't panic when emotions rise. They don't say things they'll regret just to get her attention. They take a breath. They let the moment pass. They think clearly before they respond. And sometimes they say nothing at all, because silence speaks louder than begging ever could. Stoic men know that not every cold moment needs fixing, not every silence needs to be filled, and not every shift in her mood is a reason to lose control. That's why they stand out. Because while other men try to fix everything, chase everything, prove everything, the Stoic man stays still. Not because he doesn't care, but because he refuses to be emotionally manipulated. His energy doesn't change when hers does. He's not guided by her moods, he's guided by his mission. He doesn't abandon his peace just to win back her attention. And that stillness, that calm, it hits different. It makes her stop and think, because it shows her something rare. A man who isn't shaken by drama, a man who doesn't need her emotions to validate his worth. That stillness says, I'm not here to control you. I'm here because I've already learned how to control myself. That is what earns respect. Not begging, not reacting, not apologizing just to end the silence. She doesn't want to lead the emotional ship. She wants to know that if everything falls apart, you won't. So when she throws a storm at you, don't become the storm. Become the anchor. Stay calm, stay clear, stay rooted. Because any man can be cool when things are easy. But it takes a man of depth, discipline, and real emotional strength to stay grounded when things get uncomfortable. That's the man she trusts. That's the man she can follow. That's the man who commands the room without raising his voice. Control your emotions, and you control your direction. Control your direction, and you control the game. Because in the end, the man who leads the relationship is the one who first learned to lead himself. Build your world without her at the center. If she's the center of your life, then you've already lost the core of your strength. Not because she asked to be there, but because you placed her there. And when a woman feels like she's become your whole world, it doesn't feel romantic, it feels heavy, it feels like pressure. Because the moment your life starts revolving around what she says, what she thinks, how she feels, or whether she texts you back, you give away the one thing that makes you powerful as a man, your direction. You stop moving forward and start reacting. You wake up in a mental waiting room, waiting for her reply, waiting for her attention, waiting for her to make up her mind. And in that state, you're no longer leading your life. You're just following her energy, which means your peace now depends on something outside of your control, her. And that's exactly when she starts to feel something shift. She starts to pull away, not because she's heartless, but because no woman wants to feel like your lifeline. She wants to feel inspired by you, not responsible for your emotional stability. Women don't want to lead in love. They don't want to be the one holding the emotional wheel. They want to feel safe beside a man who knows exactly where he's going. A man who doesn't wait for her to give him a reason to grow, because he's already growing. A man who doesn't need her to give him purpose, because he already has one. So stop building your day around her silence. Stop refreshing your messages every 10 minutes hoping she responded. Stop over-analyzing her posts like they hold the secret to her feelings. That's not love. That's emotional slavery. And slavery, no matter how sweet it feels in the beginning, will always kill attraction in the end. Because no woman wants to be worshipped like a goddess while you forget who you are as a man. She wants to walk beside someone who's building something real, something meaningful, something that doesn't collapse if she disappears. That's why your routine matters more than your romance. That's why your focus matters more than her feedback. That's why you need to be obsessed with yourself first, your health, your discipline, your work, your vision. Wake up with goals, not with anxiety. Train your body, not just your emotions. Feed your mind, not just your phone. Read books, learn strategy, build skills, stack wins, quiet ones. The more you build your life, the more powerful you become. Not just in how she sees you, but in how you see you. And when you value yourself deeply, you stop chasing anyone who makes you question that value. Because the man who is building something with his life doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't beg, he invites. He doesn't fear her leaving. He knows he's creating a future that only the right woman will be strong enough to walk into. She doesn't want to be your mission. She wants to join your mission. She wants to walk beside a man who's too focused to be distracted, too grounded to be desperate. And when you stop needing her to feel whole, when you stop reaching out for her to make you feel enough, that's when your power becomes visible. That's when she starts seeing your worth without you needing to say a word. Because when you move like a man with purpose, she feels it. She respects it. And if she's the right one, she'll want to be part of the world you're building, not the center of it. But even if she walks away, you keep building. Because that's what men of value do. And the man who builds always wins, not because he chased love, but because he became someone worth loving. Set boundaries, don't beg for love. If she disrespects you, there is no need to argue. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to lecture her or prove your point. You don't need to explain your value to someone who's already chosen to ignore it. You don't need to beg her to act right. You don't need to get emotional to be taken seriously. And most importantly, you don't need to ask for what should already be given: basic respect. You simply go, not with a scene, not with bitterness, but with clarity, with silence, with peace. Because when a woman crosses a line and you stay, when you let it slide just this once, you're not keeping peace, you're teaching her a rule. You're saying, you can talk to me this way. You can ignore my boundaries. You can disrespect me, and I'll still be here. And the longer you stay in that space, the more she loses respect for you. Not because she's a bad person, not because she doesn't care, but because no woman can admire a man who won't stand up for himself. She can't trust a man who lets his dignity die in silence just to keep a relationship alive. Respect isn't built with lectures. It's built with behavior, with consistency, with action. And nothing earns more respect than a man who knows when to walk away. If she pulls away emotionally, don't panic. Don't chase her with a dozen texts asking what's wrong. Don't write long paragraphs trying to make her feel what she no longer shows. Don't beg for attention, don't beg for answers, and don't beg to stay in someone's life who's unsure if they want you there. You step back, not out of spite, not out of ego, but because real connection should never have to be forced. If it needs to be chased, if it needs to be begged for, it isn't love. It's fear. It's insecurity dressed in affection. And no woman wants to feel like she's being clung to out of emotional emptiness. A woman doesn't want to be your air supply. She wants to feel your oxygen. She wants to feel your energy is full with or without her. That's what makes her stay. If she starts playing games, pulling back one day, drawing close the next, don't chase that pattern. Don't start trying to decode her behavior. Don't match her confusion with confusion of your own. Don't try to adapt to her inconsistency. You simply move differently, not to hurt her, not to punish her, but to protect yourself. Because Stoic men don't chase validation. They don't ride emotional roller coasters. They don't play by unspoken rules and manipulative tactics. They see chaos early, and they choose stillness over drama. You don't need to write heartfelt essays to be understood. You don't need to convince her that you're worth love. You don't need to explain your boundaries to someone who has no intention of honoring them. You show your worth by how you respond to being devalued. You show your power not by reacting, but by removing yourself, without noise, without debate, without hesitation. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Say nothing. Do nothing. Just quietly, calmly, disappear from the disrespect. And in that silence, she'll feel the difference. She'll feel the absence of your energy. She'll feel the weight of what she lost. Because a man who doesn't fold to pressure, a man who doesn't flinch when tested, a man who doesn't lower his standards just to be liked, that man stands out. She might expect you to react. She might expect you to fight for her attention. She might expect you to bend like every other man before you. But when you don't, when you stay calm, when you stay composed, when you don't chase, that's when it hits her. You're not like the rest. You're not afraid to lose her, because you've already decided you'll never lose yourself again. That kind of man is rare. That kind of man is unforgettable. And most importantly, that kind of man is respected. Because his mood doesn't depend on hers. His values don't shift with emotions. His energy is stable. His life is led by principle. Boundaries aren't about controlling someone else's behavior. They're about protecting your own peace. They're not walls to push people away. They're doors that only open for the right people. And those doors, they open with respect, or they stay closed. So when you show her that you won't tolerate emotional games, disrespect, or manipulation, you're not being cold, you're being clear. You're saying, if you want to stay in my life, bring respect. If not, I'll be fine. That's what Stoic men understand. They don't beg to be loved. They don't chase what's running. They don't fold when tested. They walk in silence. They walk with dignity. And when it's time, they walk away. Because it's not about how much she wants you. It's about how much you honor yourself. And once you make the decision to never abandon your own standards again, your life shifts, your energy sharpens, your peace strengthens, and the people who are meant for you, the real ones, they come. Not because you chased them, but because you made it clear you'll only accept what matches your worth. Lead without asking for permission. A real man doesn't beg for space in her life. He doesn't sit quietly, waiting to be invited in. He doesn't ask, "Where do I belong in your world?" He already knows he belongs in his own, because his identity doesn't depend on her recognition. His value isn't something she gets to decide. It's something he decided for himself, long before she came along. He's not trying to squeeze into her schedule. He's not rearranging his purpose just to gain her approval. He's not hoping she finally notices him. He builds his own life, strong, steady, disciplined, brick by brick, step by step, in silence, without applause. And the foundation of that life, it isn't built on her attention, it's built on something deeper, direction, conviction, purpose, discipline. Because when a man leads himself with clarity, when he knows who he is, where he's going, and what he's building, he becomes magnetic. Not because he tries to be, not because he's loud or flashy, but because clarity is rare. And a man who knows exactly what he wants and refuses to betray it for anyone becomes the kind of man people naturally follow. You don't lead by chasing her. You don't lead by trying to impress her. You don't lead by flooding her with gifts when she crosses your boundaries. You don't lead by apologizing just to avoid conflict, especially when you've done nothing wrong. That's not leadership. That's insecurity wearing a mask. That's fear dressed up as devotion. And fear, no matter how gentle it looks, is still weakness in her eyes. Real leadership doesn't mean dominating. It doesn't mean controlling. It doesn't mean demanding respect. It means living in a way that commands it. True leadership is quiet, it's rooted, it's expressed in consistency, not volume. It's proven when no one's watching. You lead by showing up every day for your purpose, by keeping your word when no one would know if you broke it, by standing firm on your values even when it makes other people uncomfortable, by refusing to sacrifice your standards for short-term affection. That's leadership. That's presence. That's masculine strength in its highest form. You don't wait for her to give you permission. You don't wait to be validated or chosen. You move, because leadership is not a role you're given, it's a path you choose. And along that path, she'll either align with your direction, or she won't. And you must be okay with both. Because the man who leads never begs anyone to follow. He simply walks with such purpose, such focus, such inner peace, that the right woman will want to walk beside him. Not because she's weak, but because your energy makes her feel safe, because your discipline makes her feel secure, because your mission makes her want to rise, not rescue. And as that trust builds, not just attraction, but deep trust, she begins to lean into something she hasn't felt in a long time: stability, direction, a man she can believe in. But here's the truth, not every woman will be ready for that. Some will resist it, some will test it, some will walk away from it, and that's okay. Because leadership doesn't come with guarantees. It comes with courage. The courage to walk alone if needed. The courage to keep building when no one claps. The courage to stand in truth, even if it costs you the attention of those who can't handle it. Because the man who leads, he doesn't chase people who are unsure. He doesn't lower his pace to match confusion. He doesn't abandon his path for approval. He keeps going. He keeps building. He keeps becoming. And the right woman? She won't try to slow him down. She'll match his pace. She'll bring peace, not noise. She'll support his vision, not compete with it. She won't try to lead him. She'll follow him. willingly, not because she's weak, but because she trusts where he's headed. So stop asking to lead. Stop waiting to be chosen. Stop tiptoeing around your truth just to avoid losing her. Build your life so strongly that she can either rise to it or watch from a distance. Write your own story. Live your values out loud. Lead through your discipline, through your presence, through your stillness. And if she's truly meant for you, she'll join you on the path. Not because you begged, but because you became a man whose energy was too solid to walk away from. And if she doesn't, let her go with peace. Because either way, you remain unbothered, rooted, focused, and free. The man who leads without asking to be followed. That's the man who's truly worth following. Become the man she can't shake. She can ignore your messages. She can leave your texts unread for hours or even days. She can post stories designed to make you react. Pictures with other guys, cryptic quotes, sudden silence. She can go cold after being warm. She can withdraw her energy without explanation. She can test your patience with mixed signals, with distance, with attitude. But if your energy stays the same, if you don't flinch, don't chase, don't fold, that's when the power shifts. Because while most men start spiraling the moment she pulls away, while most men panic, overthink, and try harder, you don't. You stay grounded, you stay still, you stay you. You don't stalk her online presence, checking every post, every like, every story. You don't call your friends asking what she means by her silence. You don't send 4 messages just to remind her you exist. And you certainly don't turn her confusion into your obsession. Instead, you hold your line. You stay in your frame. You keep your eyes on your direction like nothing happened. Not because you're numb, but because you've grown. You've trained your emotional muscles. You've done the inner work. You've detached your peace from her behavior. You've decided that your self-worth isn't something she gives, so it's not something she can take away. And that stillness, that calm, centered, immovable energy, it's rare, it's powerful, and it's unforgettable. She may act like she doesn't notice. She may pretend to be unbothered. She may keep playing her role like it's all a game. But deep down, she notices everything. She notices that you didn't double text, that you didn't chase after her energy when it disappeared, that you didn't break your own dignity to hold on to hers, that while others would have jumped through hoops, begged, apologized, explained, you didn't. And that creates a question in her mind she can't ignore. Why isn't he reacting like the rest? Why isn't he panicking? Why does his silence feel heavier than all their words? Because you're not like the rest. You're not the man who folds when tested. You're not the man who trades his pride for temporary validation. You're not the man who loses his identity just to stay close to a woman. You are the man who chooses himself first. Not to impress anyone, not to play mind games, but because you've built something solid on the inside, a peace that isn't for sale, a focus that can't be shaken, a mission that doesn't pause for her mood swings. And that kind of man, he becomes unforgettable. Not because he's loud, not because he's flashy, but because he stayed still when everything around him begged him to react. He stayed grounded in a storm. And women feel that, even when they don't admit it, even when they pretend they don't care. They feel your silence like thunder. They feel your calm like a challenge. They feel your stillness like power. Because deep down, women don't want to lead emotionally. They don't want to wonder if they can lean on you. They don't want to carry the weight of your insecurity. They want to feel something deeper than attraction. They want to feel safe. And safety doesn't come from words. It comes from presence, from control, from consistency. She wants to know, if I get emotional, will he stay composed? If I pull back, will he fall apart, or will he hold his ground? If I test him, will he fold, or will he lead? And when you show her, through silence, through boundaries, through discipline, that you don't need to win her back to feel okay, that you're not moved by games, that you can hold your frame even when everything is being shaken. That's when she starts to see you differently. That's when she starts to feel something deeper than desire, trust. And that trust turns into respect. And that respect? That's the doorway to real, lasting love. But none of it happens if you chase. None of it happens if you fold. None of it happens if you abandon your power to be chosen. You don't need her to act right in order for you to stay right. You don't need her to validate you in order to keep moving. You don't need her approval to keep becoming the man you're meant to be. Because now you understand. The man she remembers isn't the one who gave her butterflies. It's the one who gave her peace. The one who didn't waver. The one who didn't panic. The one who didn't sell his soul for her attention. In a world full of men who are desperate to be chosen, you became unforgettable by choosing yourself. And that kind of man, he doesn't chase, he doesn't perform, he doesn't crumble. He simply leads himself so powerfully that everything meant for him eventually follows, including her. Not because you asked for it, but because you earned it through strength, stillness, and self-respect. Final blow of truth. You don't get her by giving up who you are. You don't win her heart by softening your edge, silencing your voice, or becoming someone you're not, just to make her stay. You don't earn real love by betraying your own standards just to avoid being alone, because love that demands your silence, your submission, or your self-abandonment isn't love at all. It's fear. It's survival dressed up as romance, and the moment you trade your strength for comfort, you lose the one thing she was most drawn to in the first place, your presence. The truth is, most men don't get left because they weren't enough. They get left because they became less trying to be accepted. They dim their light to avoid intimidating her. They agree too much to avoid conflict. They bend their values to be seen as understanding. They become smaller in hopes that she'll love them more. But no woman respects a man who forgets who he is just to be liked. She may stay for a while, but eventually the admiration fades. Because you taught her that your boundaries can be negotiated. You taught her that your truth is soft. You taught her that you'll trade your leadership for closeness. And the moment a woman feels that you need her more than you need your own integrity, she pulls away. The man who keeps her attention, the one she can't forget, isn't the one who gave the most. It's the one who valued himself the most. Because true masculine power doesn't come from how much you give. It comes from how much you refuse to lose yourself while giving. It comes from how deeply you control you, not her emotions, not the relationship, not the outcome, but your focus, your actions, your identity. Control over your thoughts, so doubt doesn't own you. Control over your emotions, so her silence doesn't shake you. Control over your path, so you never forget why you started building in the first place. When your life is full, when your vision is clear, when your purpose is alive, you stop fearing who stays and who leaves, because you've already made the decision that matters most. You've decided to be whole, without her, before her, beyond her. That kind of man? He doesn't need to speak loudly. He doesn't flex. He doesn't compete for her attention. He walks with quiet certainty. His energy speaks before he does. His stillness commands the room. His peace can be felt. His purpose can be trusted. He leads himself, not with aggression, but with direction. He doesn't explain his worth. He embodies it. He speaks less, but his actions shout truth. And in that space of unshaken masculine presence, something happens. She feels it. She senses your discipline, your emotional steadiness, your refusal to be pulled into games, tests, or drama. And that's when she begins to trust you, not because of what you promise, but because of what you consistently show. Because a man who doesn't need to be chased, liked, or validated A man who can be still while the world spins. That man leaves a mark on her soul. Not just attraction, but respect. Not just butterflies, but belief. She sees what you've built, and if she's the right one, she chooses to walk beside it. Not because you asked her to, not because you made her feel guilty, but because your strength made her feel safe. And if she doesn't, if she walks away, you don't panic, you don't chase, you don't beg for closure. You keep walking, you keep building, you keep becoming. Because your value isn't tied to who claps. It's tied to who you are when no one's watching. It's tied to how deeply you respect yourself when nobody else does. To how you wake up with discipline, how you stay rooted in truth, how you keep leading, even in silence. So stop shrinking to fit her comfort. Stop chasing the love that can't see your value. Stop asking to be chosen. Stand, building lead. Even if the road is quiet, even if the journey is lonely, even if no one cheers while you grow. Because the man who learns to lead himself, that man never loses. He doesn't need applause. He doesn't need permission. He doesn't need a spotlight. He simply chooses his values, his mission, his peace, and everything that's truly meant for him, it follows. Not because he begged, not because he chased, but because he became the kind of man who was never afraid to walk alone. And that man, he doesn't lose, he chooses.